Now let's move on to the zero coupon, zero principal instruments. So it is issued only by an NPO registered on the SSE, and the ZCZP is for a very specified tenure. So you have got your NPO registered on the SSE. Now that you have registered your NPO, you can move on to uh, creating a security that you will get listed through ZCZP. So the ZCZP itself is for a specific tenure, and it is made only for a specific project or activity. So you're getting to be now very specific for what you're raising the funds. Now, the specific project or activity should fall under the specified list of activities as eligible. If you recall, in an earlier video, we talked about 17 thematic areas. So this particular project or activity for which you are creating this ZCZP, that should be a part of those eligible activities. Now, what is the ZCZP? It is an instrument without any coupon and there is no principal. So basically, it is a form of a grant. So when you raise funds through a ZCZP, you are offering this instrument to your donor investors who are contributing. Those who, when they are subscribing to your ZCZP, you get a contribution. You do not have to pay any interest and you do not have to pay back that money. It is like a grant for you. It shall be issued only in a dematerialized form. There is no physical certificate to be given. The minimum issue size of a ZCZP would be 50 lakh rupees. So your project outlay or your project budget would be 50 lakh and more. You may be part funding it through ZCZP, etc. But if you have a project or an activity that is less than 50 lakh, then it's not eligible, first of all, to be a ZCZP. If you wonder why this threshold is there, because the effort and the cost involved in just putting together a ZCZP, it would not justify if your issue size is less than this. Fortunately, the minimum application size, meaning what a particular donor or investor can subscribe to, is a minimum of only 10,000 rupees, which means a large number of investors can participate in subscribing to your ZCZP. Now, some of the basic concepts of the stock exchange need to be known to you. So this is not like crowdfunding where you go and post a project on a platform and then you open it and people come and subscribe to it. You have thought through, you apply for a particular project, it goes through a lot of scrutiny, as you will see further down in the process. Then your fundraising document with all the details go up on the website of the social stock exchange, etc. And investors subscribe, and only when your subscription is 75% of the funds proposed. So you may have gone for 50 lakh, you may have gone for a few crore based on your project size. And only if 75% of it is subscribed, then this becomes a success and you go ahead and issue the ZCZP. ZCZPs are not transferable from the original subscriber to any other person during the tenure. Remember that it is for a specific tenure. So it remains with the person, the donor or the person who subscribed. Now, the ZCZP can be issued through a private placement or there can be a public issue. And practically all types of investors, institutional, non-institutional and retail investors can subscribe to it. And private placement to social impact funds are also allowed, funds that are registered under SEBI AIF. Now, the social enterprise, when can you terminate your ZCZP? Remember, it is for a fixed tenure. So once the objective is achieved and you have a certificate from the social stock exchange to this effect, once it is submitted to the social stock exchange, and the tenure to achieve, either you have completed the project and you have handed over as a completion certificate as specified, or the tenure to achieve the objective as envisaged originally, that has expired. That is when your ZCZP comes to a close and the listing is closed. Now, let us look at the public fundraising on the SSE. What is the process? So we talked about first step is to register yourself on the SSE. Registration, if you recall in the earlier session, is for 1 year. It is valid and you need to keep renewing it. Renewal also requires annual reporting, etc. Then you appoint an intermediary. Now, who are these intermediaries? Once you complete the registration and you start the listing process, you will understand who are the various parties involved in this, like the registrar and transfer agents, etc. Sometimes you might need the help of an intermediary to even prepare and file your draft fundraising document. This is not rocket science. Over a period of time, as a not-for-profit, if you can really articulate the project, what you're trying to accomplish, you should pretty much be able to do this on your own. This is just like any funding proposal that you would have created for other funders. It's just that here there's a structured format and all kinds of information is required. Information about the organization, about the people who run the organization, and of course the specific project. So after this document is prepared, it is thoroughly vetted by the exchange, etc. It is put up on the social stock exchange, depending on whether you have taken BSE, NSE or both. It goes up for 21 days for the public to comment upon it. And this is in fact a great step that is there on the SSE, which would normally not be there in the traditional fundraising portals and channels that you would have participated on. So the public gets to ask questions, seek clarifications, etc. And you could then actually further refine your fundraising document. Then comes, the issue opens. Then we have in principle approval by the exchanges and the final fundraising document. As we talk, the issue launches, issue gets subscribed. Remember that minimum 75% should be there. And then the allotment and listing actually happens. And the listing actually is a nice event with a lot of fanfare where, you would have seen like in the movies or otherwise on the business channels, there's really, you get to kind of make an announcement with the ringing of the bell. And you can invite all your key investors. And it's a fairly nice way to tell the world that you are on the social stock exchange with a successful listing. So having looked at the overview of the listing process, let's dive into the key steps. So there are certain norms for issue and listing of the ZCZP, the zero coupon, zero principal instrument. First of all, since this whole process of putting your documentation together, completing that entire process, it takes time. So let's see how these norms are very important, especially from a timeline point of view. So first of all, remember that your registration, which is usually valid for 1 year, registration on the social stock exchange, you should make sure that this fundraising or your listing is completed within that valid registration period. You may be into subsequent years of registration, which means you would have got an extension or a renewal of your registration. So make sure that there is ample time, at least more than 6 months you have to come. When you think about listing, you make sure that your registration is valid for at least 6 months from the time that you are beginning the listing process. And also when you complete your fundraising document and all the listing process requirements, the validity or the in principle approval that you get, its validity is for 6 months. You can also do what is called the shelf document if you're looking at funding your project in various tranches. So to know more about that, I would advise that you have a conversation with the concerned officials of the exchange, because that is a forward-looking way eventually to kind of economize or, maximize what you get for all the listing spend and the effort that you put in if you're able to have a shelf document. Now, certain prerequisites are needed when you look at listing. There are other intermediaries involved. If we just spoke about it a while ago. So the key intermediaries are you need a depository for demat of your instruments. You will recall we said that the instruments cannot be in physical form. They have to be in the demat form. So a depository is required. You would need an arrangement with the registrar and transfer agent. There is going to be no transfer of the instrument, but definitely for the process of registration, allotment, etc., you need this agent. Having a merchant banker is not mandatory. But if at all, you feel inclined to take the help of someone, please do so. And then again, consultants, advisors, etc. No one's stopping you from doing that. But really, this is not rocket science. It is procedural. And I would suggest that learning how to do it and doing it yourself, it's almost like filling, your own passport application form while agents are available. If you do it yourself, you get it right the first time and probably every successive time. And you really would know how to kind of leverage the social stock exchange for fundraising. It might require investment of the time of your key personnel, but really, I would say see it as an investment and do it. So again, at any time, if you need any of the resources, there are always resources available. You can refer to the NSE and BSE site. More often than not, you would find that going to the site and searching for the appropriate link might be a great idea. Let's take a look at the most important document, that goes into your pack for really listing your ZCZP, the fundraising document. The exchanges are preparing checklists. There are also sample fundraising documents that you can refer to of the earlier issues that are already listed on the exchanges. Study those documents, and while they seem to be in fine print and there's a lot of content there, if you actually look at the core content, actually put this together and then write out your own organization's details under these different buckets, if I may say so. And the better that you get this done for yourself as an entity, your intermediaries who will help you, the consultants, advisors, if you take their help, they will be able to recast this into those formats. Again, a tip that I can give you is you convert an existing fundraising document into a Word document and start editing it. And it's like giving a project brief to a consultant or to an agency, right? If you write out the core document yourself, you would know what is it that needs to be emphasized. So the fundraising document actually has two broad components. One is about the organization itself, and two is about the specific project for which you seek to raise funds through listing. So when you're talking about the general information about your entity, the vision, the target segment you're serving, remember that this is a social enterprise, whether you're an NPO or an FPE, and the investors in the capital markets or the other investors you would be reaching out to are not really that familiar with the development sector. So I would say the first box, it's full of a lot of topics there. Make sure that you have a clear theory of change and you're able to help the reader visualize the context in which you're operating and the change you're trying to bring about as an organization, so that they're later able to see the link, like the logic model will come to it later, the link between the specific project that you are raising funds to the larger problem that you're trying to solve for and the transformative change that you're going to bring about. Governance. Governance is a very important aspect to be reported, governance management for any kind of investor, even your traditional foundations or institutions that support social sector work are actually looking at these aspects. So while governance might seem from a fundraising document as to list out the people who are on your governing body, giving their identifiable information, the PAN, Aadhaar or DIN, it's actually a bit beyond that. And therefore spend time and see that you are really giving an accurate picture of the kind of people who are governing the organization. Again, when it comes to, the management and governance, talk about their competence, their diversity, the wealth of experience that they are bringing to the kind of work that you're doing and the kind of oversight and leadership you get from your governing body and your management. The operations, again, pretty much standard staffing and your programmatic information is also gathered there. The project details that is put out here, actually, it's more in a summarized form at one point, but you dive into the details when you start talking about the object of the issue And it's important to get used to the logic model, about which I'm sure there will be more videos and training material available, or the solution implementation plan, which kind of talks about how the project is going to be operationalized and how this fits into your logic model, and how people can see the link between the overall outcome, what are the intermediate outputs, and what kind of activities would be leading to those outputs. To perform those activities, what kind of inputs would you be organizing? What are some of those critical items or factors in that whole chain? If these are the things you can really sensitize your investor or donors, I think your fundraising document will really begin to be a very key motivation for people to really subscribe to your issue. So do not get bogged down by the fine print and, the kind of statements and sentences that one is used to seeing in the IPO documents that one would normally see in the prospectus and offer documents. Here, I think the nonprofit sector can really make a big difference in, or the social enterprises can bring out the really key drivers in their story that you want to say. Please think about that. And here, when you come to the SSE, you are kind of appealing to the emotional and rational side of the investor. And therefore, if you have a really strong model that is thought through and you're able to indicate how you will measure progress from your idea to implementation and results, it would be, really useful for all the concerned stakeholders. The exchanges would be able to make a good assessment of the fundraising document, or make sure that it meets all the requirements. Later on, when you give your reports, even the impact assessors who are going to look at your work would be kind of using this as a basis. So I would say a lot of time should be spent by the social enterprise itself in creating the fundraising document. Cannot emphasize more or less, on the financials, compliance, and credibility markers that you can really bring about, other accreditations and other previous assessments that would have happened. So please share all of that. Risk factors would be of different types. So do not just leave it to your consultants to talk about, the financial risk. There are inherent risks in development work that we do, but how you are going to mitigate those risks, or how you have handled these risks in the past, would be a great way of helping people understand. The few fundraising documents that I've looked at so far, there seems to be, like, from beginning to the end, it's a very risky proposition. But, there are a lot of unknowns in the work that we do, but you as an organization would have already identified how to track and mitigate, and how agile you are in managing some of these. Material outstanding litigations, every organization, if you're doing substantial work, there may be some kind of litigation you may be involved on the staff front, on the community front. Maybe something is also to do with your relationship with other funders. It's important to make these disclosures. I've already talked about the logic model and the solution implementation plan. These are highlighted here because these are really the hero components of this fundraising document. And then the important operational issues related to the specific listing that you're talking about. So very clearly the issue size, the tenure, the disclosures with respect to under-subscription, over-subscription. These are something more peculiar to the exchange mechanism, but make sure that you have well thought through and understood. And remember, you can, in the social stock exchange, one of the beauties of this model is that you are defining your ask. So it's not like there was a request for a funding proposal and you're trying to tailor your program to what the funder wants to fund. Here, you're clearly putting out your ask. So you also have to have a funder conversation within your organization, so to say, that what should be the ideal size, and considering that if there isn't 75% subscription, the issue would really not go through. So these are important aspects to keep in mind. Let's look at the other documentation that you need for your listing, the documents for registration or in principle approval. So you have already done some of these documentation while registering the NPO, but when you are coming for the in principle approval, also it is important that some of these documents are updated and provided to the exchange. So your basic constitution, your tax deduction, your tax exemption, financial statements of the last 3 years. So hopefully the social stock exchange would look into its records with you and not ask for all of the documentation again. But since this is all in a initial stage, it would be advisable for you that every document that you submit to the SSC, you also mirror a copy at your end so that you can easily reconstruct your file for these submissions. Now, let's look at actually what happens when we get on to listing. So the fundraising document that we talked about, the components, that actually gets uploaded on the website of BSE, NSE, one or both the exchanges. The issue opens and you'll be shocked that it's open only for 3 days. So pretty much all the homework, right from preparing this documentation to prepping up your potential investors, what they typically call fundraising roadshows, you would have already done all of that because you're really priming up and prepping up all your potential investors to contribute or to subscribe, to invest, donate in that small window. The issue closes, maximum it can be 10 days. When they say 10 trading days, basically the 10 days when the markets are open. And if an extension is required, another 10 days are given. Then the basis for allotment, so sometimes you are in a happy situation where there's an oversubscription, much more than what you set out to raise. So then there is a proportional basis for allotment. And if there is an undersubscription, then you are in a situation where you may have to further extend, and only if the minimum amount that is required to be raised is raised in that spillover period, then only your issue goes through. And typically in your fundraising document, you would have clarified what happens if only 75% or between 75 and 100 is subscribed. How would you meet that gap? Okay. So once the stage one is done, this is done, of course, in consultation with your registrar and transfer agents and your designated exchange. Then the application for the final listing, which is stage 2, that is done by you. And then the verification of these documents and the listing approval is given by the exchange, typically your application date plus 1 day. Yeah. So, and that would kind of bring you on to completion of your listing.